So, in continuing our conversation about Chapter 5 and consumer demand, we want to look at the concept of elasticity. Elasticity is a measure of the percent change in sales for every 1% change in price or income. So, if you'll take a look at the chart here, if you have a 1% change in income or price, that makes sales change by more than 1%, you have an elastic product. If you have a 1% change in price or income that results in a less than 1% change in sales, you have an inelastic product. And if you have a product where a 1% change in price or income is exactly 1, you have a unitary product. So let's look at this a little more, and hopefully it'll make a little more sense as we go along. So there is something called price elasticity, and this is saying if we change the price of a product by 1%, what effect will that have on the total sales? The equation for finding price elasticity is here. So as an example, if the price of caviar increased from $20 to $25, that would be a 25% increase. Now, if you're wondering how we got the 25% increase, it's because there was an increase of $5, and $5 is 25% of 20. So if we raise the price of caviar by 25%, and we see that the quantity sold decreases from 100 to 50, that's a decrease of 50%. How we figure out the price elasticity is we divide the negative 50% change in quantity by the positive 25% change in price, and we get a price elasticity of negative 2. We can learn a few things from this. First of all, because 2 is greater than 1, this is a price elasticity that is elastic, or an elastic price. The negative sign tells us that this is a normal product. What that means is as the cost goes up, the quantity consumed goes down, and that is normally what happens with a product. This also tells us that for each 1% increase in the price, sales are going to decline by 2%. So you can imagine how a manager could use this knowledge to determine where to set a price point. We can also look at something that is called cross-price elasticity. And this looks at what is the change in quantity demanded if a competitor's product changes. So let's look at an example. If we move the price of crackers from 50 cents to $1 or a 100% increase, then the quantity demanded of caviar decreases from 100 to 80 pounds, or a decrease of 20%. So if we put these numbers in our equation, we take a decrease of 20%, divide it by an increase of 100%, and we get a value of negative 0.2. So what this tells us is that because 0.2 is less than 1, the cross-price elasticity of caviar and crackers is inelastic. In other words, the change in price of crackers of 1% brought about a less than 1% change in quantity demanded of caviar. The negative sign indicates to us that there's an inverse relationship between crackers and caviar, which means they are a complement good. That means as the price of one goes up, the quantity consumed of the other goes down. If you can think of peanut butter and jelly, if the price of jelly goes up, the amount of peanut butter consumed might go down because they're complement goods, assuming that you like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. This also tells us that for each 1% increase in the price of crackers, the sales of caviar are expected to decline by 0.2%. The final type of elasticity that we'll look at is income elasticity. And this asks us to look at how does the change in quantity demanded change if people's income change. So let's assume that the average income increases from $50,000 to $55,000, which is a 10% increase. At the same time, the quantity of caviar increases from 100 to 120 pounds, or a 20% increase. If we divide that positive 20% by a positive 10%, we get a plus 2. So this tells us a few things. Because the 2 is greater than 1, the income elasticity is elastic. The positive sign also indicates that caviar is a normal good because as people's income increased, they consumed more. It also tells us that for each 1% increase in income, sales of caviar are expected to increase by 2%. When we look at income elasticity, it's also important for us to look at luxury goods versus necessities. So luxury goods are those goods that have an income elasticity more than 1. So in our previous example, caviar had a elasticity of 2, so it would be considered a luxury good. Necessities are those goods with an income elasticity between 0 and 1, meaning that it's inelastic. So if you look at the chart to the right, this is also in your book, food is a fairly inelastic product, especially when it comes to income elasticity. Even if the price of food goes up, you are probably still going to purchase food. However, or if your income goes up, you're probably still going to purchase about the same amount of food. If your income goes down, you're going to purchase about the same amount of food. The value may be different, but food as a whole is fairly inelastic. But if we're talking about Haagen-Dazs ice cream, if your income changes significantly, then the amount of Haagen-Dazs ice cream that you consume would also probably change, and Haagen-Dazs has a fairly elastic income elasticity.